you have to realize from the outside looking in that as a farmer, my land is my base, and I have to have that base to have anything. So I have to take care of that, just as I feel generations before me had done. So it's only to my benefit and future generations' benefit for me to take care of that land through conservation practices, or even the reduction in herbicide use, anything to help make that land produce more for future generations, and in process, feeding the world.
Congresswoman Roby, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What made the decision for you to run for the United States Congress?
Sure. Well, my husband and I saw our country headed in a direction that we did not feel like was in tune with what the founders wanted. And so for our children, Margaret and George, we prayed about the decision, but ultimately decided that in order to effectuate positive change, to leave this country to our children better off than we found it, that this was where we needed to be to do it.
What have your constituents sent you up here to do?
Well, you know, all of the freshman class, I believe, received a mandate from the American people that they are tired of this big government, more taxes, more spending. It's out of control. We're on an unsustainable path. So I believe we were sent up here with a mandate to change the culture of Washington so that we can help create jobs through the private sector, not the government, and get our economy back on track.
You were one of only 4 freshman Republicans chosen to serve on the House transition team, House GOP transition team. What did you learn from that process?
Well, certainly it was a tremendous honor to be selected by leadership to serve on the transition team. And the idea was to, how are we going to make this Congress more transparent and accountable to the American people than in previous years. And so I spent the majority of my time working on the House schedule, which of course puts us back in the district for a full week at least once a month. And I think that's a huge step in the right direction because, of course, in order to be the best representative that I can be for Alabamians in the 2nd Congressional District, I need to be in the district spending time with them, and not just on the weekends, but in the middle of the week when people are at their jobs and are available to talk with me about what issues are facing them here in Washington and what their opinions are. So then I can come back up here and be a real advocate for the people I represent. That's so important, to stay in touch with the people you represent. In
doing a little research for this interview, I learned that your undergraduate degree is in music.
That's right.
How did you make the transition, what would seem to be a pretty sharp transition, from music into politics? Or law, however you want.
Sure. Well, I was a music business major at New York University, okay. And decided.
You're going to be a record producer?
No. I worked in the. I worked for Sony Records for Columbia for a year. I did some publishing. I worked for a publisher, so I was kind of all over the place. But I knew that in order to get ahead, times had changed. I needed to get a graduate degree, either an MBA or a law degree. And so I started applying to law schools, and I ended up getting a scholarship at the law school that my father went to back home in Alabama, Cumberland School of Law at Samford University. So I went to law school where I met my husband, Riley, and that of course changed the track that I was on. So we were married shortly after I graduated from law school, and I took a job with a private firm in my hometown, Montgomery. And about 2 years later, really felt that pull to get involved in my community, and that's when I ran for the city council. Never with the intention to end up in Congress one day, only with the intention to serve my community. We knew if we were going to live in Montgomery and raise our children in Montgomery, that we wanted to be a part of making sure that it was the best city that it could be. One thing leads to another, and here I am.
Committee assignments. You are a member of the Agriculture Committee, and you are also on a pretty important subcommittee, that being the General Farm Commodities and Risk Management Subcommittee. That panel will get the first bite at the Farm Bill apple.
That's right.
Talk about what interaction you may have had to date with farmers in your district.
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do, you talk about being in touch with your constituents to know how to best represent them, is to move around the district and meet with farmers of all different types of commodities, Of course, in Alabama, a lot of our farmers have very diverse farms anyway, but to meet within small farms, large farms, family farms, whatever it may be, to make sure that I'm hearing the voices of our farmers in Alabama's 2nd District. I would much rather approach the Farm Bill with their ideas in mind than bureaucrats in Washington. I think I can be a much better representative of their interests that way. So I'm learning a lot, taking the time to make sure that I can speak their language when it comes time to really representing them in the Farm Bill, in the hearings that we'll have leading up to the Farm Bill. So that is what we're doing. It has been very, very positive. I have learned quite a bit, but I look forward to learning a lot more.
Well, you have 2 young children, but aside from keeping up with them and their activities, when you want to get away from it all, what does Martha Roby do?
I go outside and I build a fire in my charcoal grill, and I cook for my family. I really love to cook, and I love to provide that for my family, but I also really love to cook outside. So that is one way that I really can slow down and reflect. And of course, as you know, in this busy life, sometimes that's hard to do. But I make sure every week that I'm home that I have the opportunity to cook for my family.
Alabama 2nd District Congresswoman Martha Roby, Representative, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. Thank you.